have to be creative somehow about measuring returns.
Yeah.
Just because the complexity and of all things you need to touch in an organization to make that happen makes it hard to follow end to end. Hi, and welcome to the AI and the Executive Table podcast. I'm Kenza.
And I'm Amanda. And in our last episode, we talked about culture and culture change and how you can actually enable the organization to adopt AI in a more, let's say, holistic way, rather than it being forced down from the top. But I think what we'd love to focus on today, Kenza, is the organization itself. And, not only from a structural, overall level, but how do we actually do it? How do we actually do an AI transformation? And I know you're going to help me with that question.
I mean, it's funny because I talk to many customers, and one of the questions they want me to answer, but very precisely, is what is the right organizational design that we need? Or what's the right operating model? So do we have a central team? Do we have a decentral team? And there's a lot of this either or, and basically you need both.
Okay.
And depending on your maturity in the transformation journey, the share of the central team versus the decentral team will change.
Okay.
So it is also a process. If you remember in the last episode, we touched a little bit that somebody needs to have that ownership to drive AI in the organization at the C-level. And at the same time, we need multipliers or AI champions in every department.
Quite experts, we said. Yeah, that's right.
So basically that describes a kind of operating model. So in my experience, especially at the beginning, when you are just starting the transformation, it does make sense to have a central team that orchestrates the initiatives, a central team that takes care of or designs the guardrails.
So these would be a dedicated team, not a side job. It's their full-time role to focus on. So then I can imagine our C-suite friends would say, well, where's this investment coming from? And where do I see the returns on that investment? But let's answer that in a minute, please, because that's another topic.
Before you think about return on invest first, right? But yes, I know. It's a long journey.
Yes.
And basically, you are expecting the organization to do something, and this something usually happens when people do it.
Yes.
Right. So you have to articulate what needs to be done.
Yep.
And then you have to design a process for that thing to be done. And then you have to involve people, and you have to describe roles and responsibilities, who does what.
Exactly,
and somebody needs to take care of all of this. So this is why if you have a central team, preferably near the CEO, right? There's the strategy coming from the boardroom or the C-level, and then you translate it in concrete initiatives. And then that team takes it from there, and they create the guardrails, they create the frameworks, and we're talking also tech infrastructure, data infrastructure, but processes as well. The role of the central team is more important, but with the maturity, it gets less importance, because if you have everything all set, right?
Eventually it's rolled out and they become obsolete in a way, you don't need them. But the thing I always find with any of these kind of initiatives is that people are expected to do their day job, their BAU job, as well as potentially being involved in a pilot or a proof of concept. We touched upon it in the last one about motivation, but unless an organization is willing to say, okay, we may not hit all of our performance targets because we are spending time investing in AI, don't you think it's a tough situation.
It definitely is. You raised that point earlier where you said, are they fully focused on AI? So talking about the central team.
Yes.
And yes, those ones, they need 100% their capacity to be focused on AI initiatives or generally speaking on the AI transformation.
Yeah.
Now, the ones in the business, and that is where the challenge starts, because usually it's hard at the beginning for the business leaders to hire extra people just to take care of
well,
this.
they don't have the budget to start. They don't have the head count. You have to beg to get one head count. So, yeah.
And you might not have the domain expertise if you're taking someone from outside, right? So preferably you have your talents in your business area, and you try to make room for those people to be able to take care of this new initiative. So they definitely need time, and you might need to invest in hiring others so that you shift capacity. And that's, I mean, I totally agree. I remember in my last role, we asked the business unit leaders to nominate one of their talents just to be the counterpart of our central data and AI team. And that was already a struggle because, as you say, if they have a P&L, they have profitability they have to hit, and like, what are you talking about? One headcount? Are you crazy, right? So it takes time until they feel the benefits of having that headcount.
Yes.
And once their business is impacted in a positive way, then you'll have more capacity for that role. And at the same time, I had other business unit leaders who already knew this is a transformation that we can't miss, and they had already hired data scientists and technical people. So it really depends. I wouldn't say everywhere people are saying, are you crazy? It depends on where they stand.
And my experience is that a lot of, for instance, in financial services, already well advanced in terms of data technologists, data scientists, moving towards doing quite a lot of experimental work. So I think it really depends on the sector. But the big question comes back to, when do we see return on investment? When does it happen, Kenza?
Well, for this to happen, you need many things in place, actually. If you build a use case, let's say in the call center, right? You want to reduce the time your call agents are on the phone with the clients. This is the efficiency part on how you measure that return on invest. But what you shouldn't forget is the customer satisfaction.
Yes, 100%.
Part.
Yes.
So reducing the time can be customer satisfactory, or it can't.
Yes.
So this is where...
and it gets worse if the customer then has to still come back to a human in the call center because they can't get the answer from the chatbot.
Yeah. So
we all know that.
So it's not that easy. I listened to this podcast of Rory Sutherland, and he said, any idiot can save you money, but the clue is to save money without destroying value.
Yes.
And that is exactly the thing that we need to keep in mind.
Yeah.
So saving money in a call center is easy, but if you lose the customer satisfaction
100%.
and your brand awareness outside, you're killing the whole value, right?
That's right.
So to make that happen, I remember what helps the call agents, as an example, is to have full transparency on the customer data end to end.
Yes, yes.
So they don't have to open like 6 windows.
That's right.
To see, we had this situation at Deutsche Telekom that you had T-Mobile and T-Home and T-Online and T-Com, and they all merged in one big company. But the call agents literally had to open 6 windows to see, Amanda, you have a contract here and there and there, and they got crazy.
Yeah.
So the first step was to merge this data.
Yeah.
And the data was in different systems. So basically, you have to connect the systems in the background, and you have to create a user interface for the agents where all of this data has been combined and analyzed.
Yeah.
And when the customers call, the system does a network check in the background.
Yeah.
So before the call agent picks up, you know the line, and then you can do some checks in the background. So by the time he talks to the client, he has already all the analysis.
So I put myself in the seat of a CEO who thinks, yes, that sounds good, but that needs immediate investment up front. So again, it comes back down to where you will spend your financial leverage, right?
It definitely is. And to answer that question is not so easy.
No.
Because I use this example just to describe the complexity of executing automation.
Yeah.
Right? So you heard you need systems that need to be connected
to each other,
in the background.
Yeah.
You need data cleaning.
Yes.
You need data analysis. You need to train the people to use the new system. And basically, you're also changing some processes in the background.
That's right.
So after a couple of years, you will see that they are more efficient. The customer satisfaction goes up.
Yeah.
But the very hard thing is to link those performance improvements to the automation investment that you did at the beginning.
Yes, yes.
Because there are different programs that helped to get there. And there might even be a marketing campaign that also helped with the customer satisfaction.
So you can never drill down.
No,
it was
it's
only
really
because
hard.
of that.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
And
that's what your investors want to see, though, don't they? They want to see those clear correlations, right?
Yes, absolutely. And if you want it that clear, basically you have to invent it. Yeah. So this is why I'm usually saying, be careful with your expectations, right? Because I have been there, and I built, with my team, we built use cases that really saved money, right? In some areas. Also use cases, predictive maintenance, these kind of things. Yeah. And we knew that we saved this much of effort, and then we needed the proof from the business unit leaders. I was in the IT department, right? So we needed the proof from the BU leaders to say, okay, that use case that the IT built for me saved me that much. Yeah. We never got it. And you know why? Consequences. Yes. Because if the business unit leaders show the savings, these savings get cut from the budget for the next year.
Yes, of course. Yes, exactly.
So obviously, it is really hard to see that on a P&L level.
Yeah.
So you have to be creative somehow about measuring returns. Yeah. And I guess this is why most companies say that they have less than 5% return on AI investments. Yeah.
I
think it's just because the complexity and of all things you need to touch in an organization to make that happen makes it hard to follow end to end.
And what else, Kenza, can an organization do to speed up AI transformation?
Well, I think first of all you have to be honest with yourself. Yeah. Because there's still the expectation this is like a magic wand. Yeah. Right? Just put some AI on it. Yeah.
And agentic AI in the call center will fix everything. Yeah,
exactly. Get rid of all of them, put agentic AI. There's a company in Germany who did that, Klarna. And after a couple of months, they had to rehire the people back. Yeah. So they thought, okay, there's agentic AI, we have chatbots, we don't need the call center at all. Big mistake.
But just on chatbots, I mean, my experience of chatbots is they are okay to give you standardized information, a bit like ChatGPT in a way. It gives you a standardized response. But when it's something that is unique or bespoke, and that can be probably 60% of the questions, I would reckon. Maybe even because the user's not, describing the problem correctly. It's not as advanced as we think in some ways. So I think there is this feeling that there's a irrational fear that AI is going to take over the world. But at the same time, I think our expectations from what we see so far is not as high as it could be.
No, of course not. And that is exactly the point. AI deals very well with structure. Yeah. AI cannot deal chaos. Yeah. Humans can deal with chaos. Yeah. And usually people call...
A unique skill that we have.
We can navigate chaos really well. Yeah, actually it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So a chatbot will answer 80% of the questions.
Yeah.
For the last 20%, you need good, qualified call agents.
Yes.
Because actually they are influencing your customer satisfaction.
That's right.
And your customer loyalty.
Yeah.
So they are really important.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want their time to be wasted in changing my address or my name or whatever thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That is an easy question. And if you have the right automation in the background, AI can reach to the system and do all of this work.
Yeah.
It's repetitive task.
Yeah.
But working on the customer loyalty and on the complex questions,
yes.
For that you need good people. And
a good structure. It almost means that you need all of the information to be structured well to help the agentic AI, it sounds like, as well, from day one.
That's for sure. And we shouldn't forget that people still want to interact with people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, I must also say, there are older ladies that are just alone at home and they need somebody to talk to, and they will call a call center even if they don't have a technical problem.
Yeah.
that exists as well, but I'm not talking about this case.
It's the fire brigade being called for the cat in the tree. I know, yes. Really just for a discussion, yeah.
So, except those cases, you have to do your homework.
Yeah.
On the foundations, setting the foundations, and then the IT infrastructure, the data infrastructure, so that you can automate, and then it's successful.
Yeah.
Because people get the answers they need, because your AI has access to the systems and to the data it needs. And that needs to be so planned, and we said be honest.
Yes.
Don't have, this expectation, it's falling from the sky. It doesn't.
No.
You have to work on your processes.
Yeah.
You have to work on roles and responsibilities. Who does what?
Yeah.
So my advice is really start from the process.
Yeah.
Your value creation, right? Sit down, take some time, and look at this process.
Yeah.
Especially in organizations that exist since many years, 100 years, processes just get further developed, or maybe they don't, or maybe you're still doing things like you used to do 50 years back, but there is no need to do so anymore.
Yes.
But nobody takes the time to revisit those processes.
Yeah, do an end-to-end review.
Exactly.
So almost you're saying the redistribution of time spent is something that has to be flexible, and you have to look at that as part of a workforce lever.
Well, absolutely. I mean, what's the most expensive, the highest expense you have in an organization is people.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that they do the right thing.
Yeah.
And usually we don't do the right thing.
No.
We are just doing processes that don't make any sense.
No.
So this is what I'm saying. Start with the process.
Yeah.
Kill most of them. You might even notice.
Yeah. You might not. Yeah.
But yeah, okay, I'm exaggerating here. But the point is, have a look at the processes.
Yeah.
In most times, now that I'm consulting companies, we go through that process end to end. And then you realize there are so many cuts in between.
Yeah.
Where an approval needs to happen, and there is no interface to a system, so there is an assistant printing a document and taking it to some manager to sign it off, and then she scans it again and then uploads it again to the system.
Yes.
So those interfaces, they are killing automation.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is why look at it end to end.
Yeah.
And optimize that process first before you automate it. And you will see that after doing that, the capacity utilization in the company is much wisely invested.
Yeah.
And this is where the biggest lever is. This is where the return on invest comes.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah.
You have to do it properly.
Okay, so to summarize, when we talk about organization, I think there are three things. I think we need to look at the organization and start with the processes. Secondly, I think we need to think about redistributing time and roles. And thirdly, being realistic with the return on investment, because it's not going to come straight away. And your takeaway, Kenza?
Yeah, I would say don't bother too much maybe with the right organizational design.
Yeah.
Right? Focus on roles and responsibilities. Just make clear who does what. And that helps a lot already.
And we know our roles and responsibilities have been to, hopefully, very, very engaging podcast hosts. So thank you so much, Kenza. I've really enjoyed these past few episodes.
And thanks to you for joining. Stay tuned.